Lilian Gobitas close. What a thrill for Phil Donahue and I to be here.
I am the one with the thrill.
And the backdrop of this is the Robert Jackson Center, of which I am the president and the founder. We are very conscious about the legacy of Justice Jackson, and one of the big parts of his legacy is his opinion that he wrote in West Virginia versus Barnett. And a few years ago, we had the privilege of having the two Barnett sisters come to Jamestown, New York, together with scholars, Sean Francis Parker, together with the Robert Jackson biographer, and a law clerk from Harlan, Justice Harlan Stone's clerk, who was there during the Barnett case. And this was about 5 years ago. Thereafter, and it was wonderful, it was filmed by C-SPAN, just so exciting. Then, a year afterwards, we had a guy named Phil Donahue. You may have heard of him. Came to the Jackson Center, and we had a chance to get in to talk to him about his thoughts about Jackson. And he talked about a lady named Lilian Gobitas. He talked about Barnett's. He talked about Justice Jackson with a great deal of passion. Then, to put this all into perspective, just a few months ago, while on the street corner in Jamestown, New York, a fellow member of the Kingdom Hall in Jamestown came up and thanked me for putting on the Barnett program, and he made the terrible mistake of saying, "Is there anything I can do for you, Greg?" And that was a mistake, because I said, yes, there is no Barnett case if there wasn't a Gobitas case. And the Gobitas case is extremely important. I would like to know if Lilian Gobitas is still among us. And John Lanetta sought you out, which led to you and me having a conversation, and you graciously inviting us down here to come and talk about this. And so to me, it's just exciting, and what was really more exciting is when I reached out to this guy named Donahue. He said, yes, I will come and join you, Greg, to be part of an opportunity to meet you and perhaps fulfill an invitation which Phil had extended to you, as I understand it, maybe 20-some years ago, to go on to his show, which you were unable to do because of your husband's condition. So here we are, April 30th, 2010, Jonesboro, Georgia, having a chance to meet Lilian Gobitas close. And I'm just so thrilled to make it all happen, as the full cycle has just occurred. So thank you for inviting us, and I speak for Phil. And I know we have lots of questions to ask about you and your life, but your life is really as an exemplar. So thank you for letting us meet.
Thank you. I love it.
Well, it was easier to book President Reagan than it was you. So I've paid my dues. I waited long enough now, Mrs. Close.
Lilian, please.
How shall we begin? Let me first tell you, when I first became aware of the Jehovah's Witness drama that took place in the 40s, I was just overwhelmed by the courage of your people. I mean, the cops beat you up. The police would join the American Legion and confront witnesses coming in from out of town and physically beat them up. I've read stories of children, not your case, but in other schools, of being beaten by the teacher. Salute this flag. And they beat the kid. He, how old is he? 3rd grade, 5th grade? And he wouldn't salute. How do you explain this courage? I mean, you were persecuted as no one else certainly at that time. You couldn't walk down the street. People threw stones at you. Tell us about that.
Well, we feel that Jehovah gave us the courage, that's for sure. In fact, my my sister was taking the bank deposit in a paper bag, grocery bag. She was surrounded by a group of girls with straight pins ready to stick them in her. And they said, "Okay, Jean." And she said, "Oh, I have a cousin named Jean. She looks just like me. You might meet her. She's a witness too." And they scratched her head and, "Oh, okay," and they walked away. Anyway, that was...
But they were prepared to stick her with pins?
Yeah, they were all going to surround her and stick her with pins. But anyway, that was ongoing. We had different things ongoing.
And your father owned a grocery store?
Yes, that was our livelihood. Our whole life centered around the congregation and the store.
And you lived in Minersville, Pennsylvania, 90% Catholic. When did you start to feel the hostility or how does a little girl process this? Why are they beating my friends up?
Well, no, this isn't the right sequence. In those days, everything was do it yourself. It was right after the Depression. And we would work in the store, and then in the evening there was an enormous laundry. My father had 4 butchers, and you didn't send out the butcher coats and the aprons. Mother did all that. And in the evening we would get the ironing boards out, 6 children, parents, and my sister Jean and I, we would start the ironing. Well, it wasn't bad. We would listen to Red Skelton, the Lux Radio Theater, and
While you were
ironing.
doing the laundry and iron?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we really had a happy life. We didn't feel deprived or anything like that. But it was really after the flag salute issue transpired that it was open season on Jehovah's Witnesses.
After the Supremes.
Yes, exactly.
And
They felt entitlement.
right, the Supremes said they had to salute, and they're not saluting, they're not pledging to the flag, and you and your little brother, William, were expelled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's when the violence began.
Yes, yes. There had been in the 30s a lot of things, but this was open season on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Do you remember any particular instances that jump out at you?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
an eyewitness, so Mrs. Close, I'm sorry to be pulling at your memory string here because
yeah.
I'm not sure I could recall. You're talking here 30s and early 40s.
One night, my father got a telephone threat. It was really his business associate, and he said, "Wally, if you don't call the Philadelphia Inquirer and tell them you will now salute, there will be a mob coming to trash your store, and we don't know what will happen to you and your children." Dad, in the morning, Dad woke us up and told us what happened. And he said to my brother, "Take the 4 youngest out to Grammy and Grandpop, and you and Lilian come in the store." He went to the chief of police, and he said, "Nope, not in my town." And he parked the police car in front of the store all day long. Well, when we were in, as soon as we saw people gathering together on the sidewalk, we thought, oh, this is beginning. But nothing happened. And the whole day went on, and nothing happened. But we didn't know that, and we were prepared.
You also, sorry?
Prepared that something might happen. Yeah.
Well, that was a what shall we say? That was the police placing the squad car in front of your house was a wonderful act of civility on the part of the police. You'd agree?
I know it. And whether it was that kept a mob from forming, or whether in the light of day they recanted. Yeah. But anyway, that's what happened. Then another time, the local clergyman told his parishioners, "You need to boycott their grocery store," as recrimination.
I should say that the Catholic priests, pastors in the area called for their faithful to boycott Jehovah's Witness
I
stores.
wasn't going to say that, but anyway,
Well,
you know.
why wouldn't you want to say that? It's true.
Because I have relatives that still go to that church.
That Catholic church.
Yeah, yeah, and
Well,
we have a good relationship, you know what I mean?
mhm.
But anyway, the business just went down. Oh, the store was so empty. It was horrible. Well, Judy, I'm stuck. Oh, when it came time to pay the mortgage.
We should say your sister's helping. Your daughter's helping. Sorry, your daughter's helping you. Memory.
Yeah.
I could use that kind of help myself. So, go ahead. You were going to say.
But
Couldn't pay the
couldn't pay the mortgage. Oh, and we had seen people, you know, on the street, you know, ready for the poorhouse, and we thought, oh my goodness. Well, my aunt was a devout Catholic, but she said family is family, and she loaned Dad the money to tide us over. And in time, as time went by, people resented being told where to buy their groceries. And besides, Wally makes that delicious lunch meat. And
Wally, your father.
My father. Lunch meat and sausages from scratch. And people came from miles around. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, we're going back. And they did, and it picked right up, happily.
So, the Catholics who had been instructed by their pastors to not patronize your businesses, and that would include your father's, changed. They seemed to, somehow, it dawned on them that this isn't right for a religious figure to tell you where to shop.
Yeah.
So they started to grow up a little bit, so to speak, you know.
Yes, that's true.
In a way.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know how did you homeschool?
We homeschooled. And my cousin brought home our textbooks. Well, that was fine. They would get a letter from the school board saying, if you are not with a proper teacher, you will be sent to a reformatory. Oh, what a horror story. But the newspapers always printed about anyone that was expelled. And we get a phone call from Mr. Paul Jones, 30 miles away. There are so many kids that need a school that we are expanding our home and turning it into a school. You can come if you like. Oh, did we like? And you can board here if you like, Monday through Friday, which we did. There were 9 of us in that house, 3 in a bed, turnover by mutual agreement. But it was a safe haven. We felt good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm impressed with your smile, Mrs. Close. And I mention that because on the outside, I have to confess, I thought your faith was joyless.
Joyless?
Yeah.
Far from it.
Really?
No.
The house-to-house ministry, as I'm told your door-to-door activity was called, just enraged people.
From 1930 to onward, I went from door to door till now. Now I just, Meals on Wheels and things like that is my territory now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. However,
when you knocked on the door,
yeah.
How many people slammed that door right in your face?
Yeah,
Lots of them?
That can happen. Some do. There's more apathy that people don't respond. They, in fact, when I broke my hip when I was in rehab, one of the girls said, I've studied all the religions and no one else goes door to door and tries to help people to learn about the Bible. But she said, we just don't answer. I said, I know, we have a word for it, home but hiding. And so, anyway, she,
What, when the door, after you knocked,
yeah,
and the door opened, and were you alone with your brother? Who was with you when you were making this?
in the early days, we went alone. And then later
And how
on,
old were you when you were going alone? When you first went alone?
9. And then when I was 11 one time, I was talking to this man and presenting a booklet, a little booklet that we had. And all of a sudden he looked so startled, and I turned around, and there was a police car. Well, when I walked it down, I saw that all the group from our congregation were in the car, so I felt secure. We got to this was in New Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Why were the congregation members in the police car?
Going door to door without a license.
I see. They were arrested.
Yeah, they were arrested. And they took us to the...
Then they put you in the cruiser as well.
yeah. And they took us to a firehouse that had 2 holding cells. And that was the local jail.
And you were 9 now?
Yes. No, 11.
11.
11 now. The churches, by mutual agreement, had let out early. And there must have been 1,000 people milling around, and one girl knocked me on the arm. But that was nothing. And we were herded into the firehouse. There were 2 holding cells. I saw my father in one, and I saw a young girl my age with her father in the other one. Her name was Eleanor. More about her later. However, they kept us for several hours, and then the mob got tired of it all, and they dispersed, and they said, "All right, you can go now. The women and children are fine, but the men have to go to the county courthouse on Wednesday." So Dad did, and he was given 5 days in jail. And we went to see him and all like that. But okay, that was it. It was no big deal.
But at age 8, 9, 10, 11,
Yeah.
the cops are arresting you, your friends, your family.
Yeah.
Did you have that smile then?
Yes.
You kept your... Did you understand why they were doing this? I
Yes.
just can't imagine being that young.
Yeah.
My dad's in jail. All my friends are in jail. Everybody hates us.
No, it didn't bother. No, remember Jesus said, "They've done this to me, they'll do this to you." And we never forgot that. And that's how we coped with it all.
Yeah. Just a couple of details for the person raised Catholic. Jesus is the Son of God.
Yes.
God is Jehovah.
Yes.
You do not believe in the Trinity.
No. Namely, because the 3 wouldn't be one. They're one in purpose and one in harmony, but they wouldn't be one person, because Jesus was always talking to his Father, "Our Father which art in heaven."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you went to Kingdom Hall how often a week? Once, twice?
Twice.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
And the fact is that your faith is Bible-centered. Wouldn't you agree?
Bible what?
The Bible is at the center of
Oh,
your
the
faith.
centered. Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
You know, and why is that controversial?
One wonders.
Well, I'm asking you to tell me, did you understand the hostility that was coming down on you and why?
Yes.
Did you understand the whole patriotism? America's fighting wars, our boys, we called them at that time, were dying in the Pacific
Yeah.
and in the European theater, and you wouldn't salute the flag.
I know it.
I mean, Ray, it's unbelievable, huh? The contempt and the loathing that people had for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And it was about ignorance and bigotry.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And the man that I married was German. And the time that I was being expelled from school, he was being herded into the Esther Reagan concentration camp. He was 22 and I was 12. We didn't meet until years later, but it was the same thing in Germany.
He knew what it was to have a society against you and to inflict violence on you.
Yeah.
And of course, in Germany, the state helped a lot, I'm sure. They didn't like him at all in Germany.
10,000 were incarcerated and 2,000 of them were killed. Erwin was taken one day to the headquarters. They put a gun to his head. Now will you, Heil Hitler? No, Heil means salvation. My salvation is Jesus Christ. He waited for the bullet. Oh, go back to your barracks. You're all alike. Can't do anything with you. He didn't get the bullet.
Your husband
That was the one who became my husband.
came that close to being executed.
Yeah. So really, Germany was far worse with 2,000.
And isn't, you were saying?
With 2,000 killed. One of his friends was beheaded. Another got the firing squad. Oh, it was dreadful.
And he came to the States and continued to be faithful to Jehovah
Yeah.
and honor the what was expected of a active Jehovah's Witness.
Yes, truly.
Even though he had seen a beheading, he almost was executed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's called faith right there.
It is, yeah.
And you had it.
Well, it was our continued activity with the congregation, the studying and doing our work, you know.
You were never alone then.
No.
That must have been a wonderful feeling. You had a community.
Yeah.
It's not like your husband was out there alone in Germany probably, but you had a community of faithful that you trusted each other.
Yes.
And you hung on to each other, my guess, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
I can't imagine you, I don't think, speaking for myself, at age 8, I'm not sure I would understand this anger.
Well, when my grandparents came to live with us at that point, they were building a house, and Dad invited them to stay with us while it was in progress. When they were gone to their meetings, they were Jehovah's Witnesses. When they were gone to their meetings, Dad would say, "Why are they spending all this time reading those books and, you know, going to the Kingdom Hall?" And he would sneak in their room and read. Oh, this is the truth. Well, we would come home from, Mother took us to the Methodist church, and we would come home. "Ruth, what did you learn in church today? Do you know what the Bible says?" And he would point out different things, you know. The dead are asleep, and Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life." Well, Judy, help.
Eventually, your mom.
Oh, okay. Eventually, we did become Jehovah's Witnesses too. And when I read that, when I heard that in Isaiah 11, the lion would eat straw like the ox, and the little child would lead them, I thought, oh, that's wonderful. But sometimes people say, well, that's how heaven will be. But it goes on and says, "But the earth is full of the knowledge of the Lord, like the water covers the sea." Oh, this was the grandest thing. We really felt this.
Filled your heart.
Filled our heart. That's it.
Tell me about William. Did you call him Billy?
Billy, yeah.
2 years, or at least, what was he, 2
2
grades?
years younger. Yeah.
So he was in what grade was he in when you were both expelled at the same time?
Yeah, I was in 7 and he was in 5.
And people tried to, tell me about what you know about, he wouldn't salute him.
Yeah.
How did the teachers respond?
He said, he came home one day and said, "I stopped saluting." And
I stopped saluting.
Yeah.
It was kind of a declaration of pride, huh?
yes, yes, yes. He said, the teacher tried to put up my arm, but I held onto my pocket, and she couldn't put up my arm, you know. And that was it. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to take my own stand. I'd been kind of a chicken before that. And so the next day I went to the teacher and said, Miss Schofstall, and I explained what I was going to do and why. And I was prepared for a recrimination. And she said, Lilian, oh, you are a dear child. Oh, but not the class. When they saw, oh, they were so angry.
At you?
At me, and when I came to school, they said, here comes Jehovah, and the pebbles were flying. But I didn't care. I wasn't that much of it.
You never were moved to weep, cry?
No. No, actually not. I guess I was a little tough, I don't know.
Well.
But anyway, I loved school. Oh, and I was on the honor roll.
You were the class president, were you not?
Yeah, at that time. And I just thoroughly liked school. Well, I noticed on my report card that in home economics, I got B. Home economics, my prunes with lemon were a delight. How could they give me a B? But someone pointed out that kept me from the honor roll, having a B. And I didn't catch on to that, you know. But anyway, just those little things, that's not important.
You feel that you got a B because you were a witness?
Yeah, because of the flag salute and all like that. Yeah, yeah. And the Raudebusch was our school superintendent.
Raudebusch, yes.
Yeah.
He was the defendant in the case.
Yes, yes, yes.
Or shall we say, yeah, defendant.
Yes. And he said, oh, he was furious. And when it went to trial, Judge Maris accepted the case.
Now, this is circuit? This was not the Supreme Court?
No.
We're at the lower court. Go ahead.
This was District Court of Pennsylvania.
This is before the Supremes came into it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
In Philadelphia. And Judge what's his name?
Maris.
Raudebusch. No,
Raudebusch, yes.
Raudebusch said to Judge Maris, oh, these children have been indoctrinated. They didn't think of this by themselves. And Judge Maris said, I believe they're sincere. I've watched them, and I'm sorry. I believe they're sincere. Well,
And he ruled that your expulsion was unconstitutional.
exactly right. Exactly right. Well, Raudebusch wasn't having any of that.
Superintendent of schools,
appeal
yeah.
the case. So in the appellate court,
He takes it into another level of...
yeah. And there were 3 judges in that one, and Bill and I were on the stand in this case.
You went to you testified.
Yeah, and they said to Bill, you know, why don't you salute? And he said, Exodus 20, have no other gods before me. And then they said to me, why don't you salute? And I said, 1 John 5:21, little children, keep yourselves from idols. The opposing lawyer said, I object. Of course, I nearly fainted. But anyway, Judge Maris, the 3 judges.
You fainted because why would someone object to your belief?
I know, I thought everything's going our way, why isn't it now? And, but the judge says, overruled. That was very nice.
2 lower court decisions
Yeah.
were for you.
Yes, and we felt so confident. So when Raudebusch says, I'm taking it to the Supreme Court, piece of cake.
Doesn't matter. We've already won at the lower court level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one day, Mother and I were working in the kitchen, and Bill and Dad were downstairs in the store working, and there was a newscast in Washington today in the Flaxfield case. He said, there was a ruling of 8-1 against Jehovah's Witnesses.
You first heard about that on the radio? Or?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, we couldn't believe it. We ran downstairs to the store and told Bill and Dad they were equally aghast. And after that, that's when it was open season on Jehovah's Witnesses. Now let's go get them.
It was okay
Yeah.
to push you around,
Yeah.
and worse.
Yeah.
Now, we have two lower courts
Yeah.
saying this is unconstitutional. If you don't want to salute, you shouldn't have to salute.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The Supreme Court votes 8-1 against the lower court.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And in that majority,
Was Justice Jackson? No.
well, no, we're not there yet.
No, we're
But
not.
think about this. Frankfurter, you have to salute
He was the main pusher
for being against
us.
you know.
Yeah.
We have a right, the state has a right to expect a pledge to promote national unity. And, you know, this was, I understand the argument.
Yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't put it this way, but it's pretty close to what they were saying.
It's very close.
Yeah. And William O. Douglas, you know, here's the screaming liberal on the court. I mean, conservatives were hysterical about Douglas.
Yeah.
He voted against you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other, well, Frankfurter, Douglas, Hugo Black, some huge names in the history of American jurisprudence
Yeah.
voted against you on the first, and that's when all hell broke loose, and you were so persecuted, you and the other faithful.
One time, on Wednesday nights, we had home Bible studies with people. And I was driving because mine was the last one. Dropped off Mother and Dad, dropped off Bill. Jean and I went to the last one. Then when we came back, I picked up Mom and Dad, and a group of teenagers came out of hiding and start letting the air out of the tires. And then they start rocking the car with the idea of flipping it over. Finally, I noticed that they stepped back for a minute, and I stepped on the gas, and we got home safely. But there was always something going on. Yeah.
Now, the other thing that should be known here is Jehovah's Witnesses would not serve in the military.
Yeah.
Now, you're not the first.
Including my husband.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
He didn't kill any Americans.
when he was a German, when he was in Germany.
Yeah.
The prisons, every prison had an assembly of witnesses inside the male, inside those prisons. Every warden would tell you at that time that their prison included Jehovah's Witnesses, an assembly of Jehovah's Witnesses.
You know
very
this.
well behaved. I don't think any caused any trouble in prison. I'm sure they were, I bet they were physically abused in prison. But that was part of your faith.
Yes. Yes. it
Don't
was.
serve in, war is not what God wants. I mean, how do you explain this?
It's like, what if they gave a war and nobody came? Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you read your literature, and all you want to do was follow your faith and oppose war and not participate in this
Not
activity.
participate, yeah.
Well, a lot of faiths now believe that now. Nobody beat them up.
That's true.
But a lot of things conspired to provoke this kind of persecution.
Yes, it's true.
Not the least of which was little Lilian Gobitas knocking on the door, interrupting my coffee. You know, and people, what did you say when they opened the door? What did you say as a 8-year-old?
I had a presentation.
Can you give us just a little bit of it?
No, I can't remember.
You can't remember?
No.
But it was,
It was
you had to be, I mean, there was a certain technique to this.
yeah, I had to
You couldn't say, give me money.
no.
So
Give
you
me,
had
the,
to
give, me
engage
the,
them.
give me the nickel. That's what the booklets were. No, I said something about it. This explains why there are such sad conditions in the earth, you know, and what hope the Bible offers, something like that. Yeah.
You had booklets,
Yeah, a little booklet.
and it was a nickel.
Yeah,
If you called on 20 homes Now, I'm asking you to just give us a guess. We're not
Yeah.
going to hold you to this. How many gave you money?
I guess 10. Yeah.
Really? You were a 50 percentile
I guess so.
collector. That surprises me.
I don't really know.
You don't remember
No,
it?
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
But you put the, what are you, a lot of coin, some dollar bills, right?
No, only a nickel.
So if you got a nickel, that was a successful call.
Yeah, yeah. And if they had further interest, we would call back.
And you would do this alone.
I don't. Those were those were the days. Later on, we went by 2. That was better.
Can I ask a couple questions? What does Joseph Rutherford mean to you?
He was the president of the Watchtower at that time, and he was very nice to young people. I met him in Washington when he came to plead the case. The folks that were going to the Union Station to pick him up and take him to a hotel invited us to go along, you know. And, I was very impressed.
So you actually went to the United States Supreme Court when your case was being argued.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you think walking into the court and actually your name's on the docket, Gobitas?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, but
But anyway, we went in and sat down, you know.
How old were you then, Lilian? That'd be 1940.
40. I was born in 23. 40.
So you did go. You sat in the atrium, as
Yeah.
Greg said.
So
tell,
17.
tell us about that.
And anyway, when Rutherford was speaking, it was dead silence. So that was also a clue this is going to be won. Nobody interrupted him. And the case before that, they were interrupting and interrupting, just some civil court.
You
Okay,
talk about
yes.
the second decision now. Are you?
first?
No,
Oh, the first decision.
The first decision.
And nobody interrupted. I mean, didn't you think that was a sign of respect?
Yes, I did.
So you thought, hey, we're in business here.
Yes,
So
that's
go ahead, tell us.
absolutely what I thought. And then, okay, and that's why I was so horrified. We were so horrified when it didn't go through. And then with the Barnetts, we went to Washington and
Second case, Barnett,
second
yes.
case. And nobody thought to introduce. I'd never met the Barnetts, only a lot of telephone conversations.
Same story. The Barnetts, same as you.
Same, yeah, yeah. And, they were delightful, very nice. I talked to them yesterday on the phone, you know. We're all getting old, pains and aches and all, but anyway, very, very fine. And, yeah, and we never got to meet them, but anyway, Hayden Covington argued that case.
Hayden Covington being your lawyer.
Yeah,
The lawyer arguing for the witnesses.
yes.
In both cases, huh?
No, Rutherford in
Oh, right.
ours.
That's right. He was a lawyer. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so it was in West Virginia, Barnett, West Virginia, that Covington was your
Yes,
lawyer.
yes,
And you were there for that.
yes, yes, yes.
And did you know that the sisters were sitting in the same atrium as you?
I should have figured that out and said, introduce us.
Yeah.
But anyway, very shy.
Did you get a sense when you were watching that Barnett case, having remembered what was the quiet reaction to Rutherford, what was the reaction to Covington during that Barnett case? Was it different?
It was a little more, I don't remember, to
Yeah.
tell the truth. I think it was a little more interrupting, but not, I don't remember. Yeah. Anyway, back to my husband. In 1946, in Nuremberg, Germany, now all these 8,000 survivors would meet with the whole group for the first time in years after being incarcerated
You're talking Germany now.
in Germany. My husband was organizing, he was helping to organize this convention. It would be on the parade grounds in Nuremberg where Hitler used to proudly parade his troops. But now he was gone and here we were. Okay. He and another man went to a castle where the Judy,
Journalist.
journalists were housed. And they said, we want to invite you to our convention, the journalists, to the Sunday public talk. All right, what you may do is put it on the bulletin board. And they look there every day for their assignments and so forth, and just do that. By the way, you are invited to attend the trials, which were conducted by Justice Jackson.
Mm-hmm. You were invited. The journalists were invited?
No, the journalists were covering it.
Uh-huh.
That was covered.
Who was invited?
My husband.
I see.
My husband and his friend. And he said, oh, he said, what a privilege, but we have so much to do to get this convention going, and there are bomb craters to be filled, and oh, it was tremendous. So they said, we have to turn it down. But think of that, you know, Justice Jackson, there he was.
Mm-hmm. You remember, did he read the decision?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first realized that you won? I mean, you were 20-something then.
Yes, 20.
What do you recall about what came back from the bench? I mean, do you remember any moments or something maybe one of them said?
Just we were very, very glad. And then that opinion that Justice Jackson wrote was beautiful. Oh, my goodness. And it was on Flag Day.
On Flag Day?
In 1943. And even though the war was still on, it still all calmed down. It was so nice, so nice. However, in 1951, I went to Europe for different conventions and was invited to a gathering that turned out to be a musical gathering. And my husband was singing, my husband to me was singing so beautifully, and I went up to him and told him how I enjoyed that and da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept smiling and I kept talking. I'm a talker. And when I walked away, he said to his buddy, what did she say? I didn't understand a word of English. And
His buddy translated?
yeah. So then when he went back, he was assigned to Kiel, Germany, as a traveling minister. And when he went back to Kiel, he took a crash course in English so he could go to the missionary school up in South Lansing, right near Cornell University.
Mm-hmm.
After he graduated, these two German ladies said, have we got a girl for you? That was me. And it clicked. And 3 months later, we were engaged and served in Austria, beautiful Austria, yeah. And I didn't know German, but it's sink or swim. You learn.
But you met him here. Where did you first meet him? In
First met him in Germany.
And you were there for the convention? Or?
Yeah.
It's a very devoted family you had.
Yeah. Someone gave me a ticket, and I lapped it up. Anyway, our children. Judy was, when Judy was in middle school, they waited for her in the girls' room and knocked her down, started hitting her, and she had to find her way out. And
This is in the ladies' room this is happening?
Yeah, in school. And that was when she was in middle school. She would have been in 7th grade. And our son too had his share. But Stephen spent his time in missionary work at home and in the headquarters for 2.5 years before he got married.
Mm-hmm.
And Judy was 7 years in missionary work at home. So they basically pursued all that.
70 classes. Dad spoke in 70 classes.
My husband spoke in 75 schools in the Atlanta area. They'd always say, did you try to escape? Oh, you mean like Hogan's Heroes? No, the guards were not that dumb. But anyway, it went over very well. And I spoke in 14 classes about the fly case. And then that was it. We had a very happy life, very full, very happy.
So you don't know sad songs for you?
No, no. I feel like we had a storybook life, you know, and that Jehovah always helped us. We were never. We were always rescued.
You were in private school,
Yeah,
homeschool,
yeah,
separated from your friends,
yeah. It was
president of the class, and you get the heave-ho.
Yeah, yeah. But we loved it in the school then, at the Joneses' house, you know. Oh, it was so relaxing, you know, no flack. It was very good, yeah.
And after Mr. Jones died, your father converted one of your grocery store vans to a bus, right?
Yeah, his pickup truck, bench, and then we would go down lanes. And in the wintertime, these little children were huddled in the snow, and anyway, a volunteer driver would pick them up and take them, and it was very nice.
Can I flash back just a little bit? Because clearly decisions were made for you not to salute the flag. And for the camera, what was a normal salute? Could you show us how the salute was at the time?
I feel very strange doing that.
Well, I thought...
It was your hand on heart and then out, outstretched. Yeah,
Palm up, hand on the heart, and then the palm up.
yeah, that's right.
Because this
Was
looked
the
too
Nazi
German-like. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
So
that's right.
when they asked you to do that at school, clearly there was, at home, you must have had conversations with your dad and mom as to how to react to this.
Yeah. Yes, we did. Yeah, sure. And also we discussed the reasons, looking up the scriptures, and they didn't push us.
Right.
They never pushed us. It was just our own decision, but they supported us. They surely did. Yeah.
You were actually at a convention where Joseph Rutherford was at, where he actually talked about the consciousness of that. And I know you didn't attend that particular session, but what did the Joseph Rutherford, how did that impact the two of you and Billy about this?
One man had said, is it wrong to salute a flag? It was a question and answer session, which we hadn't stayed for. And he said, well, I wouldn't, because of Exodus 20 and, you know, many scriptures. Because even though it says that, what does it say? That's right, I forget.
Well,
Exodus 20. You must not make for yourself a carved image or a form like anything that is in the heavens above, or that is on the earth underneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You must not bow down to them, nor be induced to serve them, because I, Jehovah, your God, as a God, exacting exclusive devotion.
Exactly right, exactly right. Yeah. And one army manual said that the stars represent the stars in heaven, and the stripes represent the rays of the sun. And that kind of ties in. Excuse me.
Kingdom Hall in Kennebunk, Maine was burned to the ground.
I think so, yeah.
They put a rope around the necks of witnesses in Wheeling, West Virginia, made them drink castor oil.
Yes. Happily, it didn't work till they got home.
So you're able to laugh about it.
But it was horrible. It was horrible.
Oh, it had to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to gently, I'm still kind of bedazzled by your smile after what you've been through. You had to have your times of crying,
No.
of hanging on to
There were times we were scared, yes. But I don't remember
You
crying.
never cried
No.
after all this abuse.
But it was frightening. And that's one thing my husband always said. To be brave does not mean that you're not scared.
So you allowed that emotion you accepted it, but you never, there was no depression or I mean, you had to lose friends, didn't you? Girlfriends
Oh
bailed
yeah.
out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You remember any of that? Did they talk to you, or did they say
You know-
goodbye, or what did they
You
do?
know, sometimes we advertised a Sunday talk by wearing sandwich signs and parading through town. And I remember these girls saying, "Oh, to think we used to be friends with her." And I was hoping I wouldn't run into them, but I did.
After the decision, the Barnett decision, things started to calm down. Was there any form of reconciliation with some of your friends? Did they ever reach out to you and say, Lilian, I'm sorry?
This one girl became a witness.
Did you?
She was the smartest one in the class, really. And she died recently and died faithful, yeah.
Mrs. Close, I have committed to memory this wonderful passage in Robert Jackson's decision for the majority, which I'm sure you remember. So you'll have to bear up. I'm going to share it with you now.
Yeah.
Robert Jackson, in the second case, 8-1 in your favor.
Yeah. No,
It was
6-3.
6-3,
Yeah.
sorry. 8-1 against.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
By the way, we should say Harlan Stone is the only
dissenter.
in both cases.
Yeah.
That's amazing. In the second case, when the Supreme said, "Oh my God, you know they're beating witnesses up all over America,"
Yeah.
there was a killing, I believe.
Yeah.
Jackson in the decision said, "If there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in religion, nationalism, politics, or any other matter of opinion." And then he concluded by saying, "And these officials may not force, by word or act, a belief therein." You can't force an American to believe anything. So essentially what Jackson did was he looked down over that bench and he said to you,
Yeah.
well, you were older then, and your little brother,
Yeah.
and all the witnesses, children who'd been expelled, he looked at them and he said, "You obey your parents." I think that's a great,
Oh,
great
I-
moment.
I know. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing, yeah.
And you walked out after the decision, and what'd you do? Hug? And
No, he didn't make the decision right then and there. He wrote,
that's true, right? He would
wrote-
come
yeah.
down later.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the one you heard on the radio? No, you heard the bad one on the radio.
This bad one, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Did you feel free? Do you recall?
Yeah, yes, we did. Well, we went out and knocked on doors and nothing happened. No tin cans, no nothing, you know. And people didn't start to collect and, you know, like that. It was over.
People
was
threw
just
tin cans? Look at you laughing.
in Branchdale.
Huh?
No, I mean, that's so stupid.
But you felt it. You saw the
Yeah.
missiles coming
We
in.
saw them coming,
And,
and we got out of there.
you know, the normal reaction would be this.
Yes.
Ah! You didn't respond that way.
No.
And that's probably because you were a witness, huh? Because
Yeah,
of faith.
because we thought, what would Jesus do? When being reviled, do not revile in return. That's what he always gave us the counsel.
And you continue today to be a faithful Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, I pray that I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it gives you your,
All the years, I don't think a month went by that I didn't, you know, either go door to door or do some form of witnessing. Yeah.
a nickel was a victory, right? I mean, that was a successful call, was
Yeah,
it not?
yeah,
A
yeah.
nickel.
Yeah.
Would you bring a handful of nickels back to the...
But I have a friend, and she said, you know, the days when we went by one. In fact, her father is the one that designed the St. Louis Arch and the stadium in Hawaii. Anyway, he was in the car, And she was up the hill talking to this man. They said, yeah, I'll take the book. And she hollered, Dad, he's taking it. Oh, she is a lovely person there.
Did anybody ever invite you in?
Yes, sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
And what? You had a little glass of
No.
milk or what? When you went in?
Not frequently, no.
No, I imagine not. But you have had doors slammed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you began to, I'm not sure you could process at the moment. What a, more than one legal scholar has said that the Jehovah's Witnesses, more than any other person or institution, shaped First Amendment law for this nation.
Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true.
You couldn't have known that then.
Yeah.
How? Yeah, I mean, I'm just impressed at how you processed all this.
Well,
And why would your friends leave you? Why are people treating you this way? Why? And you knew that failing to salute angered people?
Yeah, we knew.
and you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you once again. This is just plain terrific. And one of the things I just wanted to spend a few minutes on was, we know your dad and mother, through really a visit from your mother's parents, kind of got caught up and felt that the Jehovah's Witness was a religion which you could follow. And this is around 1932.
Yeah.
And you started proselytizing around that time period,
Yes.
32. And then as we kind of fast forward to 1935, an issue that's raised in the religion is the flag salute,
Yeah.
the mandatory flag salute requirement in schools. And we talked briefly about Joseph Rutherford mentioning the fact that it was a matter of conscience. And I'd like to know the dynamics in your family at the time. When Joseph Rutherford was talking about this in 1935, you had not gone public. You have not tried to go to school and not salute. So I'm just curious about conversations within the house with your mom and dad and you and Billy. What were you talking about?
I don't know what
Did you talk much about the
Yeah.
drama?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we sort of, but my parents never pushed us. They, like I said, that they supported us.
No one ever leaned over and said,
Do
"Honey,
it."
salute the flag. Come on. They're going to kill us. Nobody did that. Nobody got soft. Nobody wavered.
Yeah, but we didn't have much to do with people who would say that. Actually, yeah.
But that decision, it sounds like, didn't come easily or quickly. It's not as if it was an instant revelation.
Oh, no.
It took a while.
It took a while. I was a big chicken. When the teacher would look at me, I'd shoot at my arm and move my lips. And it took my brother to spearhead it.
You remember the first time you didn't salute?
Oh, do I remember?
Tell us.
Actually, we respected the flag. And my brother wrote a letter to the school board saying, it's not that I don't love my country, I love my country, but I love God more. And today his copy of that letter is in the Library of Congress. However,
And you, when you first, you must remember that first day.
oh, do I remember?
Did they look at you, stare at you? What do you remember?
Oh, they really stared at me, And so I should have, being class president, I could have called a meeting and explained it. And I guess I was very shy. But some girls would come and say, Lilian, what is it about? And one-on-one was fine. That was just great. I would explain. And they were very pleasant. Those girls were very pleasant.
You weren't scared when you didn't
Yes, I
salute
was.
that first day?
Yes, I was scared. You bet. You bet.
You did stand. Did you stand?
No, I didn't know if I should stand or sit. These days I would stand respectfully. But those days I thought, what will I do? Which is the right thing to do? And I sat, and that made it worse. Yeah.
You know, I was raised Catholic, as you may know, and I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, proud to say.
Oh.
And I remember walking down a street in West Cleveland, on the west side of Cleveland, after going to see my girlfriend. I would walk home. I was, what, 14, 16? And I passed a building that said Kingdom Hall on it. And Mrs. Close, I have to make a confession to you. I remember thinking, boy, those people are weird. And I had no evidence to make that judgment.
Yeah.
But I was in the Catholic Church, the one true church. My Pope couldn't make any mistakes on matters of faith and morals. Catholic school, Catholic high school, Catholic hospitals, Catholic churches. We were the best.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Yeah, and Jehovah's Witnesses, what goes on in them, you know?
Yeah.
And the imagination takes over. What kind of oogly boogly's going on in there?
Oh.
And, you know, it's all untrue.
Yeah.
It's all in my head.
Yeah.
And I have to confess to you, I wasn't politically aware enough. And there was no drama like this that I recall in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think I would have thrown stones at you. And I'm not proud to, it embarrasses me to say that. But, you know, we have to, all of us, look in and understand the hostility that, I mean, I was capable of it. And I don't think you appreciate, unless you're willing to confess, you know, your own bigotry, your own prejudice, you'll never get through this. You'll never learn anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and I have to thank the witnesses. All those people who got beat up, a witness was castrated.
Yes, yes.
That was Iowa?
I
I was in the
remember
Midwest.
somebody saw him a few years ago, and he's still faithfully serving,
He survived.
but with a very high voice. You know, because of the castration. Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed he was dead.
I guess by now. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you know, I've never heard of a castration survival. And
Oh,
this guy
oh.
did, didn't
Yeah, he lived. He lived.
Yeah.
And same with Tar and Feather.
he? Tar and feather.
Yeah. Mr. Stephen List in the Midwest somewhere. He was tarred and feathered, and he didn't die right away, but he didn't live too many years after that.
Mm-hmm. I stepped on your line, and I just want you to just take a second. I want to go over it again. A witness was castrated, and what was the consequence of that? What did you say he...
Oh, that someone saw him several years ago, and they said he's still a faithful witness, but with a high voice, a high-pitched voice, because of that action, you know.
Here we are in 2010, and Phil Donahue, Greg Peterson travel to come to see you. Does this surprise you that there is such an interest in what happened in 1940 and 43?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I was scared to death. But you make me feel so calm.
Well, no, but the amazing thing is the name Gobitas, Lilian Gobitas, is a very pivotal name which led to a Supreme Court case, which led to a Barnett case, which in fact now that group of cases is quoted as oft as most any case in the United States Supreme Court history.
Yes, I understand that. Usually they say that. In fact, someone said, Lilian, tell Obama I thanked him for the stimulus money. I loved it. and someone said, tell him that you were the case. He would have studied that in his law. And I thought, oh, I don't want to, and this and that. I didn't actually. Yeah.
Does it ever, you wake up some morning and strike you that you are really part of a continuum of cases which really created the law that we really know as civil, in the civil liberties law?
No, no. Life is so full. No. But I don't mean to be facetious about this and to laugh or something, because we were scared. We were very frightened. And it was not funny at all. But I guess it's a reaction. I don't know.
When you talk about it, do your kids ask you about this?
The children.
Children?
Sure. Yeah.
Your daughter
Yeah.
took some abuse.
Yes, yes, yes.
That would be at least, no, many years after you.
Absolutely.
And did she come home and tell you what happened?
Yes, yes.
What did she say? What do you remember your daughter saying?
Well, just that the kids beat her up and, hit her, and she fought her way out of it. And my husband said, Lilian, go to the school counselor and talk about this. And I did, and he said, Mrs. Coase, he said, we are not going to put up with this. Those kids that did it, they and their parents have to apologize. And they did. That was good.
I see. And this is long after the decision, isn't it?
Oh, my.
So you went through this as a child. This had to break your heart when your daughter came home. Here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again. Right. Yeah.
But you stayed the course. Your faith sustained you.
Yeah, true it is, yeah.
And you're a very happy woman now.
Actually, I really feel like I led a storybook life. I had so many nice things in my life, Yeah.
And there's no doubt you will join Jehovah after you die.
Well, my hope isn't the heavenly hope, but it is to live on it. Like Jesus said, other sheep I have which are not of this fold, and them also I must bring. And we feel that that's somehow the hope of an earthly paradise. Mm-hmm. And that's my hope. That was from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Not of this world.
But that this earth will finally, like the Lord's Prayer, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we feel that we'll see that. Mm-hmm. And you can see, like, the horrible things that are going on now. And people living in tents, in Sacramento and Las Vegas and Tampa. Awful, awful. People that had a station in life, and now they've lost everything. And it is like Jesus said, that in the time of the end, there would be earthquakes and sickness. Cancer is out of control. And also in Revelation, the 4 horsemen, one of them was representing inflation. A quart of wheat for a day's wage, which was hyperbole, but it was, showed that there would be great inflation on the earth. And we see that now, and that's why we know it surely must be close.
We didn't mention this, but witnesses lost jobs.
Oh, that's right, Eleanor, my friend. In one day, she and her brothers were expelled from school. Her father, in the coal mines, they had a flag salute ceremony, and all the witnesses were fired on the spot. Her mother worked in a shirt factory. Same thing. They had a ceremony and were fired on the spot. There they are with 3 children. That was awful. So what the men did, they would have these illegal coal holes, blasted and do their own mining,
Coal holes.
Coal holes.
And what was the purpose of the coal hole?
Money. to sell the coal and get some subsidy.
So they were their own mining company, so to speak.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
And did you share money? I mean, you must have if the neighbor didn't have for milk and bread,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm asking. What
Well,
kind?
Dad, with the grocery store, he kept books. People just put it on their charge account. And then when it was all over, a lot of them never came forward to pay. Dad didn't go after them. That's all right. You know. And a lot of times if needy people came through, that, you know, he would say, just go shop and don't go to the cashier.
Were you ever knocked down?
No.
Were you ever punched? Or
Yeah. Like I said, in that mob, I got a big punch on the arm, and, you know, yeah, that's all. Yeah.
What's the legacy of the Gobitas case? As we look here today and you say, what impact did your case, followed up by the Barnett case, and maybe that's something you, when you've talked to the Barnett sisters, you talk about. Do you ever kind of reflect, the three of you?
We see little children in school today, and they have a far different set of tests. They have, you know, oh, this one's a virgin, and da-da-da, and horrible. And so to keep their faith and not give in to any of that, it's very hard. But also the flag salute, this is they can quote this as their reason not to salute.
the witness stand against war is a virtuous thing. I'm impressed that you were able to stand up against, in the middle of a war.
It was sad because you know how they had, maybe you're too young, they had like a flag with stars, and every blue star represented one of their sons. But sometimes that blue star turned to gold, and that meant that that person was killed. It was sad. It was
I
very
remember
sad.
that.
Oh, you do, yeah.
You hung it in your window
Yeah,
for
exactly.
all to see.
Yeah,
And
It was
if you
very
lost a loved one, the star was gold and everybody knew.
yeah. It was sad.
And I assume, well, did you take any sides in the war? I mean, you certainly couldn't support Hitler.
No, in fact, my husband, they said, oh, you're just with those capitalists. And us, they said, oh, you're just with those Nazis. You know.
Everybody had a name to call.
Yeah.
And now here you are, happy, devoted family, daughter taking care of you.
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't this happen to all of us?
Yeah.
I assume you feel this is, in a way, the God Jehovah's watching over you.
Yes, I do, very strongly, yes. And I very much appreciate this daughter.
Yeah. And I must say, too, it sounds like you had a great marriage.
Yes, we did, yeah. I'm trying to think of it, for instance. I can't think of any, for instance, yeah. But we did.
He was a generous, kind husband and father.
Very, and very devoted to the, he was very active in the congregation, helped build this Kingdom Hall. And,
Why we moved from Canada to here.
what?
Tell why we moved from Canada to here.
Oh, we had moved to Canada for a while, for 6 years. But then we wanted to come where the need was greater for witnesses. And we asked the Watchtower, where should we go? Anywhere in Georgia. And that's for sure, because the territory was worked maybe once a year. Now, again, but anyway.
Because there weren't that many witnesses in this neighborhood.
Exactly right. And now there are,
But you were also knocking on the doors of some good old Southern people.
Yeah. And in fact, what was so funny, when the first week we went out, y'all come back. Oh, we got to the car. Guess what? We met the most interested people. They asked us to come back. We didn't know that was like saying so long.
Oh. So they weren't sincere.
No.
It was just
no.
sort of like a,
An
see you later.
expression. Yeah, see you later. I
Uh-huh.
remember that was funny. But anyway, we did help people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This has been fabulous. You have been so gracious with your time. I'm delighted personally to be able to finally get Phil his opportunity to talk to you after 20-some years. And so we
I
kind of
love it.
Yeah. Well, we've wonderfully made this happen, and we've learned so much. And thank you, really. This has been just fabulose.
Thank you, Mrs. Close.
Thank you.
Finally,
Yes.
I thought you went over to Geraldo. I thought you bailed out on me.
That would be the day. Oh,
And I thank you very much.
it's my pleasure, my privilege. Thank you.